Let's talk about a word we are now familiar with, steady. Steady means constant. At home, you have a steady dinner time or study hour. That means it stays the same from day to day. At school, we have a steady school schedule and classroom routine that doesn't change. These are examples of things that are steady. However, we have been talking about non-examples. What are some non-examples of steady? What are some things that are irregular? Due dates are often not steady because they change. Fire drills are not steady because they are a surprise. Some are even unplanned. The word steady was used in the passage Jazz the Recipe. How was it used? How did their singing relate to their work? Can you think of a non-example of steady used in the text? Think about the beat of ragtime compared with the beat of work songs. The beat of ragtime was irregular or unsteady. The irregular ragtime beat is a non-example of steady. Turn to your partner and share something that is steady or that you wish was steady. Remember to use complete sentences. Then, generate a list of examples and non-examples. Now let's look at page 146 in your student book. We have been using different components from the Foursquare template to help us develop deeper word knowledge. In Unit 1, we worked on the Foursquare template with examples using the word interfere. We talked about interference in football and humans interfering with bats' habitats. In Unit 2, we introduced antonyms or opposites. We used the word fragile and talked about antonyms such as unbreakable and sturdy. In Unit 3, we learned about synonyms, or words that mean the same or nearly the same. We said that synonyms for mortal include words like human and fatal. So today we're going to look at the word simple. What's our definition of the word simple? That's right, having few parts or easy to understand. Let's begin with synonyms. Synonyms are words that mean the same or nearly the same. Brainstorm some possible synonyms for simple. What are some of your synonyms for simple? Let's fill in the example square with things that are simple or easy and uncomplicated. Think of possible examples for simple. Go ahead and write in the examples box your examples for simple. Let's fill in the antonym square. An antonym means the opposite. What is the opposite of simple? Go ahead and complete the square. Now let's list non-examples of simple. Non-examples are words or ideas that don't fit. The non-examples will be things that aren't simple. They are complicated or difficult. Go ahead and fill in your square for things that are non-examples of simple. Now let's look at page 147. We're going to look at the word culture. In Jazz the Recipe, we read how people from different cultures came together to create the recipe for jazz music. What is a set of ideas for a specific group of people called? Culture. A culture is a set of ideas or a way of life for a specific group of people during a specific time. Do we all come from the same culture? We are diverse because we all have different backgrounds. Let's think about what is different about our backgrounds while we fill in the connected circles. Let's look at this connected circle. Language is a part of culture? What's another component of culture? Religion is another component of culture. Customs are also another component of culture. What are some different customs practiced in your homes related to holidays or seasons? Our cultures could also include different art and music. What art and or music are appreciated in your culture? Our cultures also include different types of foods. What are some foods that are unique to culture in Louisiana? Now let's turn to page 148. Predicate painters answer the questions where, when, and how. They are adverbs or prepositional phrases. They can be found in different parts of a sentence, from beginning to end. We will practice moving our predicate painters. Changing the way your sentences start is a simple strategy that can make a dramatic difference in the flow of your writing. It prevents you from writing sentences that sound the same. Let's read our directions. Read the base sentence and add a predicate painter that answers the how, when, or where question as directed. Move the predicate painter and rewrite the sentence. Let's look at our first sentence starter. The band played. How can we answer the question when for when the band played? We could say the band played last Friday. Oops, we need to capitalize Friday. And remember, we can move those predicate painters to the beginning of the sentence and say, last Friday, the band played. But if we move it to the beginning of the sentence, we're going to need to put a comma after Friday. So we're going to say, last Friday, comma, the band played. So I want you to go ahead and complete the rest of the sentences. When you are finished, we will review our sentences and see who can come up with the best sentence for each question. We have learned how endings can alter the meaning of nouns. What does it mean if I add an S to some nouns? What does it mean if I add an apostrophe S to a noun? Endings can have an impact on verbs as well. Just like nouns, there are many different kinds of verbs, and you can impact their meaning by adding certain endings. Let's look at page 149 in your student books. Verbs can signal time, and some verbs show action. Verbs tell us whether the sentence is about the present, the past, or the future. A tense timeline shows 3 points in time: present, past, and future. Let's look at some examples. She jumps. When does she jump? She jumps today in the present tense. What if I were to say, I jump? I would take off that S to make it correct subject-verb agreement. When the verb is an action verb, we often add an ending to signal the time. What ending can be added to show present tense with some verbs? That S. What does present tense mean? Adding an S to some verbs is one way of showing time. What do we do when we want to talk about something that already happened? Today she jumps, but yesterday she jumped. Now let's go back to page 149. Look at the box under yesterday, past. Let's fill in the blanks by making the verb show an action that has already happened. What would we do to the verb bats if he already took a turn at bat? We would say he batted. Remember that sometimes we have to double the final consonant. If it's consonant, vowel, consonant, we're going to have to double that consonant. So we're going to have two T's when we make batted. Otherwise, it would say baited. What ending can be added to show past tense? We add the ed to show past tense. And remember that past tense means it already happened, like it happened yesterday. Adding an ed to some verbs is another way to show time. I want you to go ahead and fill in the rest of that column under the yesterday chart. What did you discover? Now let's look at another tense. What do we do when we want to talk about something that will happen at a later date? Let's look at the board. Today, she jumps. Yesterday, she jumped. Tomorrow, she will jump. Look at your page at the box under tomorrow or future. Let's fill in the blanks by making the verbs show an action that will happen. What would we do to the verb bats if he hasn't stepped up to the plate yet? You would say he will bat. What can be added to show future tense? Will is usually added to show future tense. What does future tense mean? Adding will to the singular form of a verb is one way of showing time. Go ahead and fill in the rest of the chart under the future, tomorrow tense. And remember that these are just some of the ways to make verbs show present, past, and future tense.